There's sometimes that debate whether content creators like myself need all those professional camera features like 10-bit log, raw recording, super large dynamic range and all of that stuff, or if it's just overkill. And I've been thinking about that recently quite a bit, and I came to the conclusion that we might actually need those features more in many cases than even professional filmmakers do, except for documentary filmmakers, because professional filmmakers usually have a lot more control about what's going on around the camera, what we do not, and it's generally the case that the less control we have, the more the camera has to compensate and even replace certain jobs that do exist on certain film sets. That's why in this video I want to show you exactly how all of that plays together, so it might help you a bit to make a better decision in the future if you need a better camera or not. So I would say let's go out and I show you exactly what I mean. I got something here I did not think I would ever buy. Like I completely ignored it when it came out. But I was totally wrong. I thought it is a completely different product from what it is. No, it's not a camera bag. It is a Canon PowerShot V1. 10-bit C-Log 3, 16 to 50mm zoom range, stabilized lens included. Sounds like a perfect vlogging camera to me, and it's great to show you what I'm going to show you today. So it's time to test the V1 here and also show you exactly what I mean. I'm now in a standard picture profile, so there's no log, no 10-bit, nothing. And as you can see here, the sky behind me is completely burned out because it's a sunrise here and the sun shines really, really strong. And this camera, especially in that picture profile, is not capable of handling that. As you can see, like I can either now expose here so that we're like somewhat equal, like that the sky doesn't look too bad, but you also see my face, or I could do something like that. I could now expose better for my face, let's say something like that, but then you see that the sky is even more burned out, but therefore you see my face better. Or I could do the opposite and I could simply underexpose, probably even more. Now you see now the sky is starting to pop up. Now we are already at -3 stops and you still see how big the sun is here, there. So that doesn't really look good, right? So actually just exposing in the middle was the best. It doesn't look completely bad because it does seem to have a decent highlight roll-off here, but you can definitely tell that it's not great. And that leads me to what a professional production would now do. They would simply use a reflector here. Now, this is still certainly not perfect, but you see that the side of my face where the light bounces off is at least a lot brighter. In reality, of course, they would shape the light even better with even more reflectors or even some really, really strong lights that I now put on my face against the sun especially, so that we can compensate for it. But that's what I wanted to show you here. Like professional filmmakers, they shape the light. Like with professional, I mean like cinematography. But of course, creators like us and documentary filmmakers, etc., don't have that luxury. That's why I think we actually need better cameras, and I can demonstrate that now. I actually tested it already with this camera in C-Log 3 and 10-bit, and still like the dynamic range is not great. So let's switch to the C50 now, which is the $3,800 camera. So there we should see quite an improvement. So now I'm on the Canon C50 and I use this camera in crop mode because there it has slightly more dynamic range than in full frame mode. That helps even more here under these conditions. As you can see, sun in my opinion is still a little bit too big, but it is a lot better than before. You can see a lot more detail in the sky now. And you should also still be able to see my face. I have a problem now that I cannot really see myself on the screen because it's just too dark, like the sun is shining straight on the screen. I should have brought a bigger monitor for it. That's another thing, like it always makes sense to have bigger monitors on set. But yeah, as you can see, like now having that lock and having that helps a lot, like having that reflector here. And now if we move this reflector away, so this is how it would look like without a reflector. Now I'm most likely still way too dark, but it is better as on this camera. Like the sun is still super big, much bigger behind me, and I'm also very dark. So we're certainly getting a better image with C50 here. Let's bring the reflector back so that you can at least see me a little bit. I intentionally chose this strong lighting conditions here because I shot here quite a few times in the morning before. I always know that this is a challenge even in 10-bit log. So that was intentional, but I think you get what I mean. Like at least now on the C50 I have quite a bit of flexibility, while on the other camera I'm very limited. Like there is not much anymore that I can rescue with color grading or so, but here I can potentially maybe do a bit on my face to at least lift it a bit or so, because I have that data available. But let me also show you another example here with a diffuser where we can't have the sun in the shot, but it still helps. So let me show you that. But before we come to that, I'm pretty sure if you're watching this video you might be interested in making money with your camera, and this is where our today's sponsor Wirestock helps you with. Wirestock connects photographers, videographers, 3D artists, illustrators and photo editors with a consistent source of paid projects. A lot of the work right now is freelance projects in the AI space, and they also have photo and video production projects on there too. The big thing is that they focus on ongoing projects, not one-off gigs where you disappear after the invoice is paid, and you can expect a steady stream of incoming projects to work on. The way it works is simple. You fill out a form, the team selects you from a shortlist and invites you to ongoing paid projects. You pick what matches your skills, submit your work and get paid directly through the platform via PayPal or Payoneer. No client outreach, no negotiating, no chasing invoices, the whole hunting for work part is taken off your plate. For people who want a more stable way to earn from their creative skills, it's a genuinely useful option. They've paid out over $15 million to their community, so there's a lot of opportunity for creative professionals here. So now we're in a quite different situation. I intentionally don't have the sun in the frame because that is just too bright, but you can still see how much contrast there is on my face, right? Like this side, it's not burnt out, but you see it's very, very bright. Here it's very, very dark. And because I'm shooting in just normal standard picture profile here, 8-bit, there's not much that I can do. But now what professionals would do is they would simply use a diffuser. You can see here's the diffuser. So when I'm standing next to it, let's zoom a little bit in to have it out of the frame. Then you see how much better that instantly looks. That's now at first because the diffuser reduces the light coming from the sun. There are different strengths, so that's why like this side of the face is not that bright anymore, and therefore automatically also the left side, it's almost falling over here. The left side of my face is also not that dark anymore compared to the right side of my face. It's like it's like the contrast ratio. Oh no, it's almost falling over. That's again why you need an assistant. I don't have one here. Anyway, it also softens the light a bit, like you can see now that it all looks a bit softer on my face, so quite a bit more flattering. And this is exactly how they do it in Hollywood. Like, of course, they have like different strengths and stuff, so they can absolutely control it, but this is essentially how it works. And now if we combine that, if we now go to the C50 and having that set up, there it starts where it looks perfect. So, C50 time, I'm directly in the sun and you see already how much better that looks. Like, I can even see it on the screen. Like, this side of my face should be similarly bright as before, but here now the shadows are so much brighter already, and I can work this image. I can even make the shadows of my face a little bit brighter in post. I can then add some contrast back and stuff to ensure that it doesn't look flat, that it's still dynamic and stuff. So even if I'm not happy, if I think that the shadows are too dark, I still have options to work this image. And that is so strong when it comes to shooting as a creator or documentary filmmaker. Yeah, that's definitely too big for the wind here. But you see, even on the V1, if I switch to log and I have that here, that diffuser, it looks so much better, right? Yeah, diffusers help, but they're not very practical for people like us. So those examples have been about dynamic range. However, there are of course more features that you might also need because we're shooting on the go. That's, for example, sensor stabilization is something that you don't always need, but often actually when you shoot handheld, especially if your lens is not stabilized. You want to have decent autofocus because, well, you're usually shooting alone, right? And no one's pulling the focus on your camera, and that can be a bit distracting. You also want to ensure that your camera doesn't overheat, at least in certain scenarios. That's sometimes a problem that I might have here in Thailand especially. Also, battery life is important. And that's like the thing when it just comes to dynamic range. There are actually decent cameras that are quite affordable actually, such as the Fujifilm X-M5, which has 10-bit f-log 2 with a really good sensor actually. So you get decent dynamic range there and really nice shots. However, it is a pretty small camera, so it tends to overheat a bit quicker. Also, it does not have sensor stabilization, so if your lens is not stabilized, you have a problem shooting handheld. Battery life on that camera is also not that great, and that's like the thing. Usually when it gets a bit more expensive, then the more feature-rich your cameras get. But even that does not mean that you necessarily have to sell your kidneys to get a decent camera. Like Fujifilm X-S20, for example, is actually the same image quality as the X-M5, but it has IBIS, bigger batteries, and overheats a bit less than the X-M5. You have the Sony a6700 and FX30, which are also excellent cameras and really feature-rich, and also the Panasonic S5 Mark II if you want something that's not too expensive, especially if you buy it used, and gives you full frame video quality. It even has a fan, so it's a lot less likely to overheat. And so you really only have to purchase a camera beyond $2,000 if you really want everything, such as the Canon R6V now, where you literally like get open gate and raw recording and IBIS and autofocus and all of that stuff in one package. And that's where it gets even more interesting, because cinema cameras oftentimes don't have any of those features. And that's intentional, because what cinematographers want to do is not just to control the environment when it comes to lighting and all of that stuff, but they generally want to have full control about every single aspect of the image, because every single detail is part of storytelling. For example, where your focus sits and how it moves while the scene is unfolding. Even the camera shake is storytelling. Like sometimes you have an action scene where everything is super shaky and stuff, and there you don't want IBIS, you want actually a bit of shake in there. And that's also the main reason, aside from workflow, why cinematographers choose such good cameras, even if they can shape the light around and they wouldn't actually need those cameras to get very similar looking results, simply because they want to have full control over the image. And this is just, you get the most control if you shoot raw video, for example. And also, cinema cameras can actually save quite some costs, ironically, because let's say they mess something up on set, because, well, we're all humans, we make mistakes no matter how experienced we are. And so let's say someone messes up the white balance on set, then having to reshoot all of that with like dozens or sometimes even hundreds of people on set would be way more expensive than just using a camera that shoots raw video in the first place, because then you can easily change the white balance afterwards and stuff. Just one smaller example here, but it's generally the case that the more information you gather on set directly, the more likely it is that you can rescue something that went wrong later in post. And that's ultimately why I think that everyone that wants their videos to look somewhat decent should be using a professional video camera. Because if you're a creator, you just have to constantly compensate for your environment that you can't control. And if you're a traditional industry professional or so, then you just want to have that flexibility in post to compensate for things that go wrong, or even to create some even more creative looks, etc. So it just benefits everyone, just in different ways. And that's why I think if you're debating with yourself if you should invest in a better camera or not, then just ask yourself, like, what are the shooting conditions? Can you control the light around you? Like, if you're only shooting your room, for example, and you have full control over your lighting, then yeah, you don't need a better camera. But the moment you go out and stuff and things happen more randomly, then yeah, absolutely, get a better one. So yeah, these are my thoughts about this topic. Just feel free to share yours in the comment below, and maybe also reasons why you invested in a better camera gear if you did that already. And also, if you're not sure yet what camera you might want to purchase, then check out this video here in the corner. There you will learn more, and also consider subscribing, and I see you in upcoming videos. It's a really nice cafe here, by the way. It's called Mola Mola in Hua Hin, Thailand. Opens at 7:30 in the morning and is directly by the beach. You can have a nice swim in the morning and directly enjoy your coffee and breakfast.